So, according to a tweet put out by Ian Rappaport, it looks like Trent Baalke will be the next GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars. At least, I guess, retain his current status as GM. So, I guess some background behind Baalke. From 1998 to 2000, he served as a scout for the Jets. Then he went on and was with the Redskins for 6 years. And then finally in 2005, he got his first gig as on the 49ers. He started off as a scout. Then he went on to be a director of player personnel. Then he got promoted to VP of player personnel. And then 2011, he was finally hired on as the general manager for the 49ers, and that lasted until 2016. So it started off great for Baalke. It started off really good. In 2011, he was named Exec of the Year after he turned a 6-10 team into a 13-3 team and went on to the Super Bowl with Jim Harbaugh. But really, the trouble started beginning in 2014, where he had a lot of beef with Jim Harbaugh. Which later on, basically at the end of the 2014 season, Jim Harbaugh was fired. And then eventually in 2015, they hired on Jim Tomsula. Tomsula went 5-11 with the 49ers, and then he only lasted a year. And then after that, they hired on the most overrated coach in history, Chip Kelly, who wound up making the team 2-14 before he was finally fired. So, I guess really his history really with the Jaguars, it was his first time with the Jaguars was in 2020. Where he was hired on as a director of player personnel. And then after Dave Caldwell was fired, he was kind of promoted to the interim GM position. And now it looks like he's going to start playing that kind of a full-time role. So what this shows to me, it really kind of confirms that Urban Meyer is in control here. And you almost wonder, how attractive was this spot knowing that Urban Meyer was kind of in control of things? Because obviously in the NFL, like a lot of times GMs are hired first, then GM gets to hire a head coach. I wonder if this was very attractive knowing that, look, we're going to bring in that the head coach is already here. The GM isn't going to be able to pick his head coach. So, I mean, there goes that. Also, Trent Baalke does have a relationship with Urban Meyer. It began in the mid-2000s when Baalke was a scout for the Western region for the 49ers, and Urban Meyer was a coach at Utah. And then later on, with number 1 overall pick, the 49ers did wind up drafting Alex Smith, who was the quarterback at Utah under Urban Meyer. So their relationship really began then. But this is almost a position where it's like, look, Urban Meyer's in charge here. You know, Urban Meyer did not want to, there was a quote on CBS, he didn't want to bite off more than he could chew, really, with being the GM in his first year, which I could fully expect. I mean, I'm very glad that he hired a GM. I don't know how I feel about this hiring, though, with Jim Baalke. Obviously, if you ask any 49ers fan, they're going to tell you the worst things possible. There's probably plenty of 49ers fans down in my comments right now about really what he did to the 49ers organization, but he's in a little bit different role here. With the 49ers, he was kind of calling the shots, obviously firing Jim Harbaugh. 1 year later, having Jim Tomsula for a year, then Chip Kelly for a year. He's not going to have that same control over here. He's going to be working closely with Urban Meyer. I guess Urban Meyer gets somebody that he's kind of close to. I don't know if this is who Shad Khan wanted, but it was kind of seeming like this was going to be the hire after they did all the GM interviews and nothing really came out of it. It seemed like there was a good chance that Baalke would be retained, but you almost wonder, is this only a 1-year rental for Baalke? I wonder if it's a situation where Urban Meyer is going to feel out the situation after his first year, kind of see how things go after he learns more about the NFL, whether he wants to kind of go with somebody else, a GM, or if maybe Urban Meyer potentially wants to become the GM. As we all know, Urban Meyer is really a program controller. I could so see him being able to persuade Shad Khan to do something this way or that way because, you know, I mean, Shad Khan, I imagine he can stand his ground on a lot of things, but when a guy like Urban Meyer is telling him how to run a football organization, I feel like there's a good chance that Shad Khan might follow, but it's a very important year for Baalke, really. I mean, you know, you say like, okay, maybe this is a 1-year rental, but this is one of the most important years ever for a general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 2 fourth-round pick, the number 1 pick in each different round. You also have all this free agency money to spend. It's a really important year for the Jaguars. So hopefully they do things right. I'm not going to totally like crap on this hire because I'm going to give this guy a chance. And obviously, with the GM spots, we don't know a lot about the different GMs. I mean, me personally, I probably would have hired Rick Smith. That was really my favorite out of the bunch. But all these guys, all the rest of the guys had their failures. I would probably rather Trent Baalke than Ray Farmer, the Browns guy. But I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, his big fault was his big fault really as a GM was not being able to get along with anybody. It's pretty ironic that he wasn't able to get along with Jim Harbaugh, and then now he's working with Jim Harbaugh's arch nemesis, and that's Urban Meyer, a guy that Jim Harbaugh was never able to beat. But that's besides the point. But the Jaguars officially hire Trent Baalke as a GM. Let me know what you guys think of the hire, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Go Jags.